Hey guys, I'm Nick and welcome back to the channel. If you happen to be a new visitor here, please don't forget to click on that big subscribe button to stay up to date and current with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube, because today we're talking about episode 7 of Star Trek Prodigy entitled First Contact. We're definitely doing the rounds of these Star Trek tropes in Prodigy to introduce the younger viewers to all of these concepts that Star Trek regularly throws at us. Last week we had the holodeck, and this week we've got not only the concept of the transporter, but we've also got the concept of first contact, the prime directive, Ferengi, rules of acquisition, all that sort of stuff. So let's go through and take a look at this week's episode of Prodigy and see what it had to offer. So the episode started in kind of a cute way where we had the crew transporting a piece of pie around the ship from different places to another, and it was still hot, it was still tasty, and they seemed to be getting the hang of how the transporter works. We hadn't really had too much transporter action in Prodigy up until this point because they've just been landing the ship on planets. They haven't had the need to use it. It was featured once in last week's episode, but that was part of a holodeck program. This week they're using it in real life. So that's one of the staples of Star Trek that we're obviously going through the list and ticking things off to say, right, we've got to, introduce kids to how transporters work and how First Contact works. And that was the title of this week's episode, First Contact, which has not been the first episode of Star Trek episode entitled First Contact. We've had an episode of Next Generation labelled First Contact, and we've had obviously the feature film of Star Trek Next Generation labelled First Contact as well. So this will be, I guess, now the third Star Trek episode that has a First Contact as its title. And before long, we next get introduced to the person that was responsible for raising Dal, and that is a female Ferengi by the name of Nandi. Now, Nandi travels in a Ferengi Marauder starship, which is the first time we've seen one of these Ferengi Marauders for quite some time. They were established way back in season 1 of Next Generation, in one of the first episodes of Ferengi episodes in Next Generation, which was called The Last Outpost. We got to see the Ferengi starship. We obviously saw them a few times after that, but they were quite rare to glimpse. And it's good to see the Ferengi Marauder back again on screen in this episode, piloted by Dal's mentor, Nandi. One little diversion from the usual canon of Ferengi is the fact that Nandi, as a female Ferengi, was wearing clothes. They did establish on Deep Space Nine that female Ferengi weren't really allowed to wear clothing. They apparently got around naked, and only the men Ferengi were allowed to wear clothing, but obviously they've sort of bent those rules a little bit for the sake of the Prodigy series and the younger viewing audience, I guess. And I guess, let's face it, the Ferengi have to kind of get with the times and give equal rights and all that sort of stuff. So I think there was obviously some trail blazed by Quark's mum back in a DS9 episode. So maybe the whole concept of Moogie wearing clothing caught on in the Ferengi culture. But it does beg the question is what this Ferengi was doing in the Delta Quadrant, raising Dal before he was sold off to the mines at Lars Lamora. We seem to definitely have a few Alpha Quadrant races that have been kicking about in the Delta Quadrant. They haven't really gone into any explanation as to why we've got Alpha Quadrant races doing stuff in the Delta Quadrant. Whether that's going to get answered at some point or not, or whether it's just going to be left as a kind of suspension of disbelief type moment, I guess that's up to the producers. One thing we did see that Nandi the Ferengi did have on board the ship was a Horgan. We've seen the Horgan before. It was the fertility statue on Risa. I think Captain Picard got given one by Riker, and it was sort of like putting an announcement out there when you're visiting Risa that you're open to a relationship or open to a fling or whatever the case was. So it was interesting to see that Nandi had a Horgan on board her ship in the cargo bay there. She also had a Klingon cloaking device. So not only have we got a Ferengi Marauder piloted by a Ferengi flying around the Delta Quadrant, we've also got her having a cloaking device on board, obviously scavenged or stolen from a Klingon vessel, and she's also packing a Klingon disruptor as her sidearm as well. So obviously Nandi's been doing a bit of bit of dealings with the Klingons at some point to get a bit of their tech. Now, one thing I thought we might be getting a little bit more info on is where the last episode left off. We obviously had that big reveal that Chakotay was the former captain of the Protostar. I thought we might have got a little bit more of an information about what was going on with him and captaining the ship and everything. But the only piece of information we actually gleaned from this episode is the fact that the hostile boarding force that was going on in the background when the transmission ended was in fact Dreadnought, the Diviner's robotic enforcer, was the one boarding the ship. This raises, more questions again as to the origins and everything of the ship. But I did read an interview during the week with the producers of Prodigy saying that other voice actors such as Jason Alexander and Jamelia Jamil and so forth as other Starfleet officers, and there was a bit of confirmation there that these other characters that we heard were going to be doing voice roles on Prodigy, they weren't part of Chakotay's crew on the Prodigy. Producers did confirm that Prodigy was captained by Captain Chakotay, but these other officers, Jason Alexander and Jamelia Jamil and David Diggs and so forth, weren't part of that crew. So it'd be interesting to see how these guys fit into the narrative of Prodigy. And he did, in a roundabout, non-spoilery way, also sort of confirm that there is definitely some time travel aspects in play here, because things didn't add up. In terms of Chakotay being the captain of the Protostar and then the Diviner and Dreadnought hunting for the Protostar 17 years ago, before Gwyn was born, which puts it around season 3 of Next Generation. It's like, this is weird, because hang on, it can't have taken place during season 3 of Next Generation, because it wouldn't be Captain Chakotay at that point. Chakotay would still be a lieutenant or something, before even the Marquis started. So there was a few things that weren't quite lining up in terms of the timeline for various different events. But now we know that there's definitely some time travel aspects in play here with the Protostar. Another Star Trek staple we got quite a few of in this episode was the good old Ferengi rules of acquisition. We got a few of them thrown around through this episode, and it was a nice introduction for kids to see, the concept of the Ferengi and the whole acquisition rules and everything thrown around as well. That was interesting to hear about, and I got to say, having Dahl's mentor being a Ferengi kind of answers a few little questions about that sort of selfishness that he's got going on, and that aspect of his personality that kind of is a little bit self-centered, a bit, he wants to do things his own way. That is definitely kind of, along the lines of Ferengi kind of personality type. So to have Nandi, a Ferengi, being the person who raised Dahl does kind of answer a few questions about his sort of personality type and his kind of attitude and whatnot, but hopefully that will breed out of him throughout the course of the show. We obviously got a very cool introduction to a very ethereal race of aliens on this planet, with the whole crystals, with the ability to manipulate sand, much like they use the programmable matter in Star Trek Discovery. Obviously this race is able to do kind of the same thing with sand as future Star Trek people are able to do with programmable matter, making buildings out of sand and everything, and the whole harmonics of how that's controlled. That was quite interesting, and I thought this race was quite graceful and elegant too, and the whole concept of the crystals and the harmonics, I thought that was kind of a very pretty introduction to a new Star Trek race with these guys. And at the end of this episode, we obviously had Nandi doing the whole double cross, which, let's face it, is a Ferengi staple. She's just after to acquire profit, and there's obviously been a broadcast put out there by the Diviner and Dreadnought that they want information on the whereabouts of the Protostar, and it seems like Nandi's going to cash in on her intel by providing that to them. However, I'm not quite sure that's going to work, because these guys are now in the Gamma Quadrant, or somewhere around maybe the border of the Gamma Quadrant and the Delta Quadrant. Certainly they've come a long way out of the Delta Quadrant. I'm not sure how the Diviner is going to catch up with the Protostar. I guess we don't know that much about his ship, the Rev 12 or whatever it is, to know exactly what engine it has under its hood, and to see whether it can travel at speeds that are going to catch up with the protostar, but I guess we're going to go into that in forthcoming episodes. I quite enjoyed this episode. I hope you guys did too. Sorry about the rain before. It was pouring with rain here, so I apologise if you could hear a whole bunch of rain on the roof while I was doing my recording. Guys, as always, please don't forget to leave a super thanks if you're able to. Guys, if you're liking the galaxy projector I've got going on as part of my background with the whole nebula and starfield, it's really pretty. You can pick yourself up one of these from Galaxy Lamps. I've got the link in my description. Enter the coupon code NICK10 for a 10% discount. They're really beautiful. I'm really liking this new addition to my background. I think it's really bumped it up a notch again. Guys, as always, please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Comment and like on this video, and check out my merch page where you can pick up some cool t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, caps, all Star Trek themed. Some really cool designs. I'll probably be working on some new ones coming up soon. Keep an eye out for that. And I think there's a sale on at the moment in the merch store. Even though there's a free shipping at the moment, so take advantage of that. And I'll be back very soon for my next review. I'll see you guys very soon.